Hello and welcome. It's me, Percita, and this is Percita's Paradox. Thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate you, your time and effort, as you know, in joining me on YouTube. If you are new to this channel, welcome. And if you are an OG, thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you on this thing called the Paradox. So, here we are, people. It is spring. I don't know about you, but I have sprung. I'm already kind of tired. It's weird. It's like I feel as if, I don't know, like I've just done so much, maybe. I constantly need a vacation. I'm currently on the formula of grinding and working, whatever you want to call it, for like a good 4 months. And then I need 30 days of vacation. Yeah. So you can kind of see I need to get really, really wealthy very quickly. But I promise you that is just where a girl is. I'm also in this vibe of getting more social, right? It's kind of funny because I've always been pretty much into, my individuality. And if you personally know me, then you know that I do a lot of things by myself. And for the most part, I'm fine with that. Like, I'm not even really telling you I'm not okay with that. But what I am starting to enjoy is the connection, the link up with people that are not only like-minded, but just kind of feel the way I feel about the way the world is moving right now. Probably has a lot to do with just all of the drama and trauma between COVID and war and watching people hurt and things like that. I think I'm just getting a little bit more emotional, right? So what I wanted to talk about today is really, really socializing better and how to do that. And you may say, okay, Percita, so what's the drill? So let's just pose the question. The question of the day is, how do you socialize better? First off, you have to understand who you are as a person. That's just key, right? You really have to know what your personality is. I mean, are you into, arts and design? Are you into travel? Are you into shopping? What? Right? And some people are like, girl, I like all those things. Yes, yes, yes. We talked about this from the last video. You can have a plethora of desires, but you kind of want to hone in on one and build on it. Really find some like-minded people in one genre and see if they like also the other things that you like, right? So I am all about really this thing of finding some females. Now, that sounds funny because I'm a female, right? So, I mean, why would I not find females? Well, I hate to be that female that's like, females don't really like me, because that would be a lie, because females do like me very much. I just realize I have always had insecurities with trying to fit in. See how I pose that? How it's actually me who's actually not been open to females due to past trauma with maybe one or two female friends that I've had through the years. And I'll loosely say the word friend because at the time I didn't know that they weren't really friends, right? And I'm talking about, childhood. I'm not talking about, anybody in the last, 20 years, right? I'm talking about the deep depth portions of your life where you really build your self-efficacy, right? So with that being said, I've always played more of a, I don't know, how would I say that? I've played more of a neutral space in regards to how I feel about really trying to interact with females. And I realized that in my latter years, I'm starting to regret that because most of my friends that I'm primarily close to would be male. Now, the highlight of that conversation is at least their wives, if they're married. And a lot of the people I'm talking about are really good friends with me also. And if they're not really, really super close to me, we have a common respect for each other that there's just certain things that I wouldn't do and they know that I wouldn't do, so that never causes a conflict. Meaning I don't have any friends that I would have ever been in anything more than intimacy on a friendship level. Nothing sexual, exes, no drama like that, right? So what I'm noticing though is that as I get older, I actually want to interact with the female mind because I'm starting to find out other parts of myself, right? The whole premenopausal thing, the whole identity of just the connect. I've been married since Jesus came around, and even in the identity of being able to speak to a female about how I'm feeling has just been something that I've not nurtured. And what I'm learning is that I need to nurture that. And by nurturing that, I really have to hone in on who I am, what I bring to the table, right? Because we're so quick to tell people, they need to have all these things in order to fit in, into their pocket, right? But what I'm starting to understand is that it's really more of what have I not been willing to give in order to give what I need so that I can receive what I need. So that first point for me is you have to really know who you are in that. Secondly, you have to find people who are moving towards your future, or people who are where you're trying to be, so that makes sense. Now, what's funny about that is that we never stop to think of maybe the people that are where we want to be don't really want to pull back, right? And pull us up to where they are. People never say that, but I'm going to just go ahead and pose that and put that out in the atmosphere, because that's actually a true statement. I mean, if you're trying to say get around wealthy people, but you are broke, that's few and far between going to happen, right? You're not in an atmosphere, or you're not even in a scenario that's going to pose you the opportunity to be there. So I wouldn't say that. I would simply say that it's more of walking in your faith better. And what I mean by walking in your faith better, I feel like when you're there and you can see yourself where you're trying to go instead of focusing on where you are, you do have an energy and you do have some type of divine thing that happens that just kind of puts you in places that you need to be. And it allows you to know when to speak up to people when you need to, which takes me right into the next point of you got to speak up. Are you social when you go out? Seriously. Are you the type of person that just kind of looks at people like they got something on them? Or are you an opportunist and you're speaking about something you want somebody to do for you? Or are you really genuinely holding conversation, right? Now, I say that because I love to go out and get the reaction that people usually don't think that I'm going to talk, and I'm actually a talkative person. But I'm actually talking about like crazy stuff. Like I was in Target today and I started talking to a lady about the price of deodorant. And she just kind of chuckled at me because she said that she was thinking of the same thing about the razors that were behind us. And I laughed because those conversations can lead to some really cool interaction. And at the same time, you might, chuck up onto the wrong person and they're looking at you like, girl, I could really care less about what you're going through. So I'm not saying that you're talking to everybody, but I am saying that when you feel the energy, you feel the vibe, to connect. Now, if you're a creator and you're going out and you're only talking to people so that they join your channel, be conscious that can be a little tricky. It does work. I've not done it. I'm starting to try to learn to do it because I do know of a few people who do it and they do it very well because it's actually their personality. But if that's not your personality, please don't do that. Don't do that at all. Absolutely try small talk and go from there, right? Because you really don't want to come off like a salesperson. And sometimes you do that. And it's not what you're trying to gauge. So you want to make sure that you're able to talk to people, but you want to make sure that you're giving what it is you're trying to give and you're being in that perspective, right? And I'm not telling you you're going to get everybody's phone number nor anybody's, handle, so to speak, social media handle. I'm simply saying you want to feel comfortable enough in yourself to have some sense of a conversation, but you want to be very clear on the discernment of who you're talking to and when you should talk, right? Very important. Another key point in that is you really want to get up and get out. Now, there is nothing wrong with reaching to people through the physicality of it, but my get up and get out is actually sliding into people's DMs. Seriously, I struggled with this so bad because I really was just so old school that I'm like, are really people meeting and marrying and cohabitating and, all this stuff but what I have now learned is that I just need to let that go and actually slide into some DMs and actually introduce myself to people who I actually want to interact with and find them intriguing. And maybe they'll find me intriguing back. Maybe they actually answer their messages in the DM. I think my true issue is that I wasn't really ready for the rejection, to be honest. And it was very complicated to really wrap my head around. Most of the information that I'm giving you stemmed from the idea of rejection, which piggybacks on the last video where we were talking about most of our issue with starting something is just the fear. Same concept. So different word, same concept. So in saying all of that, I'm just understanding that I don't want to just hang out to hang out, right? I don't want it to be a business meeting either. I want my interactions with females at this point to really bring forth something where I know that I'm bringing them some sense of worth and they're giving me some sense of worth, but outside of the worth, there's like a peace, right? There's like some type of an energy that just allows you to be as loose and as fun or as sad or as whatever it is around said person or persons. Because that was another thing. Like, I have a plethora of people that I would tell you that I'm acquaintances with, and I have a lot of acquaintances that I would interact with and go out to eat and do things. I have a very small group of friends, right? The irony of that is that most of those friends don't interact. I've always been the type of person that only dealt with one friend at a time. And I've always wanted to do something different, but I realized I had never given myself the opportunity nor the challenge to kind of bring everyone that I like to the same place and see how it works. I've recently started doing that, and I must say that it was all me all along. It was never the fact that they couldn't get along. Hell, I think they get along better without me, actually. I should be a little offended by that, but I'm not. But I do. I think that all of those preconceived notions were based on a post-traumatic stress dilemma that I had with people in my childhood. Honestly, people in like the 5th, 6th grade, 7th, 9th grade. Like, I can think of moments like that. So if you're like me and you are ready for something new in your social life and you really want to put yourself in a place where you're growing and you're not so identifiable in this place of it's not that bad, or I don't really need a lot of people, because I'm not telling you to go out and bring a lot of people into your life. I'm actually telling you that what I'm looking for is to just simply socialize. Being in a relationship, it's always nice to go out with couples. It's always nice to have examples. I just want my examples at this point to be balanced. I'm not looking for, perfection. I'm not looking for overly anything, right? Overly financial, overly religious, overly physical. I'm not looking for any of that. I'm actually just looking for people who are looking for balance and looking to enjoy this leisure lifestyle of happiness and peace that I seek. And I realize that there are more people like that than not, right? So that's my judge today. That's what I wanted to talk about. That's where I really wanted to focus in on how you can do better with it, utilizing some of the tools that I just gave you, but in the same breath, just really owning the idea that it could be you, right? You could actually be the problem. You could be the thing that's really holding you up from those days where you really want to get up and go and call a girlfriend, but there's no girlfriend to call because maybe you weren't very communicative the last time someone tried to call you. It's like being open and willing to be there for someone just as if you want them to be there for you, and not putting yourself in a place where you're only interested in them when you have time. I've never been that girl, but that's the trauma that I'm telling you that I've always felt from people that I have in the past let into my life, because I just felt like I didn't have a place. And I don't know about you, or I should say, if you're anything like me, then once you feel as if a person can take you or leave you, it pushes you away. And I'm just really doing everything I can at this stage to remain as solo as I can when I need to be solo. But I'm just smart enough to understand in my wisdom of years that there's also a time for fellowship, and there's also a time for collaboration and linking up that is solely necessary for you to be able to actually know that you listening to yourself only could be a problem, right? If you're only talking to yourself, if your opinion is the only opinion that you're getting, you could possibly be in a bad situation. So I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. So if you're one of my friends and you're thinking, oh, girl, is she talking about me? You already know who you are. No, I'm not talking about you, okay? I am in a position of saying that if you know me, then you know where this is coming from. and you understand what I'm trying to say because we've spoken on a personal level. For my YouTube family, this is me really in a very vulnerable place, but also in a place that I feel as if is needed for even you to connect better with me and to understand what I'm trying to actually do and bring to this channel. So here we are. We are starting a new spring. We're springing a sprung. We are moving different because we want different, and we're just going to do it. It's just that simple, basically. So you already know what I'm going to say. In order to do any of the stuff I just said, you have to actually do 3 things. And those 3 things are live life authentic. Thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And as always, I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.